Hey, what's going on, guys? As promised, I'm going to do 2 videos a day. I thought initially less is more, but I have received counsel that probably more is more, and the more videos and the more things I do, the more information that I get out there, probably the better it will be, the more people will reach, and I'm all about that numbers game. So I wanted to briefly talk in my second video today about Gina Raimondo. She's the governor here of Rhode Island and also the Speaker of the House, who some people will argue here in Rhode Island, writers for the Providence Journal, as well as writers for the New York Times, will argue that he is possibly the most powerful person in all of Rhode Island. So it really depends on your perspective, because there are different they have different roles and they have different powers that they both have. But let's just jump right into this and we'll talk about Gina Raimondo. Like I said, she's the governor here in Rhode Island. Some of this information is new, some of this information is not new, but it's all factual information, and I'll show you the screenshots and everything that I have here, all the links. All this information that I've gathered is publicly available online. But just jumping right into it, she went to LaSalle High School back in the day, Catholic high school here in Rhode Island. She is quote-unquote Catholic. However, she is pro-abortion, so there's been some conflicts that have come towards her for that. I'm not a left or right-wing person. I realize they're both wings of the same corrupt bird. But let's specifically start enumerating some facts about Mrs. Raimondo here. So she went to Harvard. She got her BA in economics. She was a class of '93. She came back 25 years after, and she was named the Chief Marshal. Now, this is something that has to do with the graduation exercises yearly, and on the 25th year afterwards, some big people will come back and talk, give speeches, host dinners and so forth, and lunches. And Gina Raimondo was named the Chief Marshal in the 25th year. Other people have been like FDR, so really high or elite people. The most interesting thing I'll jump next to is she went to New College in Oxford, and she was a Rhodes Scholar there. What I find very interesting about this is much like the Sackler money, the opioid money, which we'll get to, that she has refused to give back. She's also refused to even comment on the fact that she's a Rhodes Scholar. Now, people will be like, oh, Rhodes Scholar, that's awesome, right? Well, let's talk briefly about what a Rhodes Scholar is. So, the Rhodes Scholarship was created by Cecil Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes is a known racist and a British imperialist who started wars in Africa, the First and Second Boer Wars. And, don't take my word for it. There's people in South Africa that are tearing down his statue because he was a known British imperialist and a racist. So Cecil Rhodes, this terrible guy that instigated wars, divided up black people, and did all this terrible stuff, he created a scholarship, and anybody can find it. As a matter of fact, I luckily have the book right here, and I'll show it to you. But this awesome book right here, and please pardon the lack of cover, because it's got the covers all off of it, but this book right here, Tragedy and Hope, awesome book, written by Carroll Quigley. I've also read his first book there, The Anglo-American Establishment. For anybody who is unaware, Carroll Quigley is a Harvard-trained Georgetown professor. He's since passed now. He was even acknowledged by Bill Clinton as his mentor. And so this guy is by no means a loony bin. This guy is as legitimate and as qualified as you could possibly get. So it was interesting to see that Cecil Rhodes, this progenitor of British imperialism and the instigator of all these wars, he decided to create a scholarship. So working with Lord Rothschild, another sweet cupcake of a guy, they decided to establish the Rhodes Scholarship, and it was to further this racist British imperialist worldview. And a very select amount of people go on to be Rhodes Scholars. It's a small select few. Bill Clinton was one of those. So there, she did her doctoral thesis on single motherhood with Stephen Nichol, and he's an economist from the London School of Economics, and that was created by these Fabian socialists. And maybe you're thinking, Will, maybe you're just being hyperbolic right now, talking about how Cecil Rhodes and the Rhodes Scholarship is racist. Well, no, it's not. They actually didn't allow women or African American to get it until people started protesting, I believe, in the 70s. So this is a real deal thing, and she is a part of a very elite group there. She's also on the board of trustees at Yale as well. So she's part of these very, very high elite groups. And I think it's a shame that we have some people in our community that really think that she has the best interest of minorities or disadvantaged or disabled people in mind, or even poor white people for that matter. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about the kids. Now, I've confronted Gina Raimondo about these missing children a number of times. DCYF, the Department of Children, Youth, and Families here, which is the equivalent of Child Protective Services or CPS in other states, is the branch of our government which is responsible for protecting children and making sure that if a children is in an abusive setting, that they're taken from that abusive setting and then taken to a safe place. So we're obviously the smallest state here, and in 2015 alone, the only reason they lost 45 kids. The only reason we know this is because it was reported to the local Rhode Island NPR. Now, typically, this doesn't always happen. It doesn't always break through the media. Now, what would happen with me, if I was a corrupt politician and I knew kids were missing, and someone came up to me a number of times, and the first few times, and every time I was pretty polite. I was never, I did get a little agitated after she refused, pardon me, to answer, but at the end of the day, if I'm not even a politician, I never will be a politician, but if I was sitting there and some guy comes up to me and he's like, oh, can you tell me about these missing kids, whatever, I would say, I don't know what you're talking about, but kids are obviously my number one priority, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to protect the kids. Please send me an email. I'll be glad to talk. But every time I approach one of these people, they're just stone-faced, and they don't say anything. And then I've gotten complaints over the months and years about, hey, you're just confronting these people. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to show you some screenshots right now. I'm not going to show you all of them. I do have some of them out right here right now, but I'll show you at least a few of them. And by the end of tonight, I'm going to make sure that I've emailed every single state rep, and then going to move on to the senators too, with the same thing about this. So I'm not just running up to people trying to have some slam journalism. I've literally written the emails. I'll show you some of them right now. So then after that, she went to go serve as the law clerk for the federal judge Kimball Wood, who works for the U.S. District Court of Southern District of New York, which is one of the most important districts. They set trends for what happens nationally there. And Kimball Wood was the judge, and she's a big deal too. She was the judge that recently presided over the Michael Cohen case. She also got her master's from the London School of Economics, and that was created by the Fabian Society. And they believed, and they were a bunch of socialists, and they weren't the best people either. So you notice the influence that Raimondo has now too. And I'm going to switch to the screen here so you can see this part of my file. And so she was a senior VP of Fund Development for Village Ventures, and that was backed by Bain Capital. Now, you guys may know Bain Capital. I copied and pasted some of this on the second bulletin point right here from the Wikipedia page with some of the links here. But the Bain Capital, you guys, I didn't even need to copy and paste this, but this should be familiar to anybody who's familiar with Mitt Romney, because this was a major thing in the 2012 campaign there. And people were saying, and just take a look at some of the holdings that Bain Capital has in the backings, and it's pretty interesting. So from that, she went to co-found Rhode Island's first venture capital firm, Point Judith Capital. And the crazy thing about this is, and you can just go on to Point Judith Capital's website right here. It's pjc.vc. And she still retains some executive duties there. You can just check that out on its own website. But it was interesting to see for me that some of the clients that they have in this venture capital firm, Point Judith Capital here, they include companies that do work with artificial intelligence, genes, brain-computer interface, the Internet of Things, and healthcare. So I put a couple links here, and you guys can research them. You can just go to that official website to take a look. But VeritasGenetics.com, then you have Neurable, and then you have Nest.com. Nest is like a home security thing, and the interesting thing about Nest is, and I have a couple articles there that will show it right there, but you can just Google Nest in the news, and what's been happening lately with Nest is it's like a home security type of thing, which has got cameras and stuff. On multiple occasions, it's been jacked into. And it hasn't even been the NSA. I'm sure the NSA's got jacked into it too, but it's just been weird, creepy people hacking into baby monitors, talking to people's kids like, oh, shut up, don't listen to your mommy, I'm your real daddy now. And it's like And so these are the companies that deal with artificial intelligence, healthcare, genetics, the Internet of Things, and basically should be things that are concerns for privacy also as well that she's dealing with here. So it's just interesting to see what she's into. And then after that, she went and became our Rhode Island General Treasurer. And there was a bunch of hoopla about her decisions, some of the decisions, what happened with the pension and so forth after that. I'm going to kind of skip over that. That's something that's a little more mundane, and something that you guys can get from just about anywhere, and that's in the news cycle here. But I want to kind of point to the things, at least briefly, that are not highlighted by the news all the time. She's also the chair of the Democratic Governors Association, which is, of all the Democratic governors, she was recently named the head of that, and that's also another high position. So I'm thinking with just some of these connections I've told you about alone, let alone some of the ones that I'm going to give you right now, she is in a position and is set up amongst the elite and is doing things that a lot of elite people have done before. And she's really put herself in a position to perhaps make the next step. Maybe, and after this term here, she cannot run for another gubernatorial term. So who knows what we're going to see out of her. But I think if we expose all the corruption that she's done, maybe she won't get that chance to try to run for president. And you know what? There's 49 other states. And if 49 of you guys in your states go out there and expose what's going on with your governors, if they are in fact bad people and bad governors, then we'll make sure that in all those other 49 states, the bad people don't run. And we get some good people running. So, like I said, she's also the chair of the Democratic Governors Association. Also, very close with the Obamas. Both the Obamas have spoken out of her. You can just Google Barack Obama, and he did a campaign video for her. Michelle came out here. Hillary came out here multiple times, I believe, at least once. And in this article from Politico in 2014, talking about Gina Raimondo, she cites Hillary Clinton as her political role model. And like I alluded to earlier, one of Gina Raimondo's donors was named in an opioid lawsuit, the Sackler Company, and they built an empire off opioids, and that's even according to Go Local Prov here. And she's got her ties with Yale also tied to Sackler, and she's not giving that money back. She's keeping that money, that opioid money. So the people that are overdosing, the people that have problems with prescriptions and all that stuff, we're always talking about the opioid crisis. This is something that both Democrats and Republicans will admit. You know, this is one thing that they can both admit. And I think we can all agree on. There is a legit opioid crisis going on here in the United States. A lot of that is by Big Pharma, and a lot of that is by poor personal choices, and a lot of that is also by this entire society that has been engineered to induce this type of thing going on. So I don't particularly blame anybody in particular, but the Sackler family and their company have been involved in this opioid crisis. And Gina Raimondo's taken money from them, and she's not giving it back. But also, her and the Speaker of the House, Matiello, have accepted donations from, they were called lobbyists, but they were really just the strip club industry. And that came out in the Providence Journal and other local publications. And they're not giving that back either. So she's a part of all these elite groups. She goes on this racist, she goes to college on this racist scholarship. She's taking opioid money. She's taking money from strippers, from strip clubs, pretending that they're lobbyists. She's not giving any of this money back. She won't answer any questions about missing kids, either electronically or to her face. Like, what is a bigger priority than missing kids? But going on, I'm just going to skim through this a little bit more and show you some of the juicier things. But you can see here, too, she was on number 38 in Fortune's World Greatest Leaders. I found that pretty interesting. And then the second link that's right here, the WPRI News, local Providence Raimondo staffer stabbed last week, was charged with sexual assault. And if you look into this, and I spoke to somebody who's knowledgeable about the situation, and I've read the article myself, basically one of Gina Raimondo's staffers is going around to ghetto and underprivileged youth in the hood, in Providence, And he's saying, hey, I got money. Oh, I'll buy you Jordans. Oh, I'll get you high. I'll drink you up. Oh, come do this. So to kids that are like kind of lonely or don't have anything to do, preying on them, goes and picks them up and sexually abuses them. And the reason this one finally made the news is because he tried to do that to another young person, and that person stabbed him. So we have Gina Raimondo's staffer going around picking up underage kids, trying to elicit sex from them, and it only makes the news because that person got stabbed. So that's pretty crazy. But like I said, she's got these racist connections. She's got these opioid connections. She's got these terrible connections. Nobody seems to care. Bat an eye. And I'm a white dude. I've never really did my ancestry. I thought about doing my DNA ancestry to see what I have in me, but I read an article talking about they're all different because they did some article where one dude took his DNA and sent it out to all these companies and got different results. And just the fact that you're sending your DNA to some random company, who knows? It could be in the small print like, oh, we're going to make a clone out of you too. Who knows? But getting off that little side tangent, this is somebody that is, I saying being as a white person, I don't understand because I know a lot of minorities here, and there's still a pretty good support for Gina Raimondo around with minorities, but it's still only a small percentage of people, either minority or white or whatever however you want to lump people together in categories. I shouldn't even be doing that, but it feels like there's an overwhelming amount of negativity towards her, but there are certain people, and they will support these people no matter what. And the thing is, whether you're Democrat or Republican, they're going to keep hitting these talking points. And they're like, oh yeah, I get that. But all of a sudden, we overlook all these negative things about that. So, moving on to, and then I took this information right here from Project Vote Smart, and, but she's a member of the Board of Trustees on Women and Infants Hospital, still. She's the vice chair of Crossroads. Crossroads is a place here in Rhode Island it's like a homeless shelter. So who knows what the heck they're doing with that. But if you look down, too, she's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And that's also another elitist, racist society. And the minorities and the poor people don't seem to care about that. If you read, the Council on Foreign Relations has its own website, has its own magazine, and has its own podcast. You can sit there and listen to what they said and what they will say, and they're a bunch of racist, elitist, imperialists, have been for a very long time. They've written it in their papers, and Gina Raimondo's a member of that group. That should upset people. White people, black people, rich people, poor people, Asian people, people that identify as however they want. If you're a human being, that should upset you, okay? But then she's also a member of the Aspen Institute. And the Aspen Institute is one of these large think tanks founded by the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Ford Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. She's hanging out with all these elitists. She's a part of all these groups of all these racist elitists who have openly written and said what they think and feel. So what I'm asking for you guys is have my back here. And by having my back, that means let's continue to expose this. Let's find out what's going on here and expose this, because this is a criminal. Like, if I did this, if I was the governor, and forget if I was the governor. Let's say I was the head of DCYF. Let's say I was the head of any company, and 45 kids went missing, or I missed 45 employees, or missed 45 shipments. I wouldn't have a job. This bitch doesn't even have to answer a question to nobody. She's not answering my questions. She's not answering my emails. And until other people start sending her emails and putting the pressure on her peacefully, we're not going to get answers. So I'm calling on you guys here. Just Google Gina Raimondo. You can email her on Facebook. You can tweet at her. She's got an official website right there. The state website, the office of the governor. You can send an email. You can talk to Joe Sack. I'll put his card up here. I just had that with me. Joe Sack is one of her communications guys or whatever, but we're going to get into another one of her communications people briefly too. But she also wants to give us free college. Well, guess what? It's not free, okay? We're paying for it with our tax money, and these people can't even keep our money and not have it go missing. We have money from the 9/11 fund here, not 9/11 when it comes to the day 9/11, but the 911 the 911 fund here. We have missing money there. There's a crap ton of money missing from the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. We have, she now proposed a new state budget for $9.9 billion, which is more than New Hampshire, which is a bigger state than us. Where the hell is all this money going? Where's all this money going? And like I said, she's taking money from strip clubs, pretending they're lobbyists. Now, if you're just going to take money from strip clubs, go ahead, take money from strip clubs. That's cool. But don't lie. Don't take money from opioid people, which is killing people, and just not give it back and lie about it. So these are the things that we need to look after. And just to show that things are that I did email Gina Raimondo. Thank you for emailing Governor Raimondo. Governor Raimondo is committed to open, accessible, and accountable government. No, she's not, because she's never answered one of my questions, and I've asked her several times. And then these are some of the screenshots I've sent to Alorza and some of the city council members and Alorza's staff here. No response. And then we're going to get to the screenshot right here. This is from the Providence Journal. I'll zoom in quickly here. Monday, January 29th of this year. Raimondo names new communications director. Now this is pretty interesting here. So Raimondo names Jennifer Bogdan as her new communications director. Interesting. Well, who's Jennifer Bogdan? Well, I'll tell you who Jennifer Bogdan is. Jennifer Bogdan was the only reporter going in and exposing the terrible things that were happening in DCYF. DCYF, children were getting prostituted out. People were taking underage girls from group homes, driving them in company vans to be raped and to sell drugs. Kids go dying. Kids go die like all the time here. Kids are going missing in DCYF care. And 45 alone in 2015, and I have to file APRA reports and FOIA requests just to get more info, because you can't get a lot of info on this. So this is what's going on here. And so Jennifer Bogdan was the only reporter really talking about the troubles of DCYF. What happens? Gina Raimondo names her communications director. Now she's making six figures, and magically all the DCYF noise goes away. So Gina Raimondo bought out her only competition, if you will, and Jennifer Bogdan sold her soul to the devil. Because Jennifer Bogdan doesn't give a shit about little kids. She cares about money. And she's willing to sell her soul for money. Well, I'm not willing to sell my soul for no money. I'm not going to shut up about these damn kids. These racist elitists think they're going to just sit there and steal our fucking tax money and nothing's going to happen to the kids. Jennifer Bogdan, shame on you. She's a huge, huge piece of shit. She's a huge piece of shit. That money is worth more than investigative journalism. Now, there's certain people out there that don't know that there's a problem. So I understand you wouldn't fight. But when you know there's a problem and you're fighting to expose it, and then someone's like, hey, come work for me for a lot of money and shut up. You're like, sure. You might as well just rip the whole vertebrae out of your body and then do something that I shouldn't say on air right now. I'm just going to end up right now. I guess we're going to delve into Matiello maybe another day. Maybe I'll briefly go on to it. But let's just show you some pictures here before I let this go. This is Gina Raimondo there. Obviously, it's Bill Clinton in the center. And then that's House Speaker Matiello. They're all getting together here in Rhode Island for some pizza. Some lovely pizza. Sitting down there in some very thoughtful, provocative conversation. This is Gina Raimondo. We got Jack Reed, he's our state senator. James Diosa, that's Gina right there. That's House Speaker Matiello. That's James McNamara. He's the head of the DNC here in Rhode Island. Deborah Ruggiero. That's Sabina Matos, who I've confronted a number of times. And then we got David Cicilline back here. And this is, obviously, as you can see at the Democratic National Convention, these people acting for delegates. And guess what? These people don't seem to care about the Clintons' ties to trafficked children. Just look up Laura Silsby for one example. I could go on for a bunch. They don't care about that locally, and they don't care about that globally either. So on the left here, you got Matiello, you got Hillary Clinton, And now, in my investigations into DCYF, this woman right here, Patricia Serpa, who is a state rep, I heard from Holly Marshall and some other people that she was, in fact, a good woman, and she was fighting to expose DCYF, and I'm not sure about that. And again, right next to her, you have McNamara, the head of the DNC here in Rhode Island, the Democratic Party here in Rhode Island. Then you have Gina Raimondo. So it's pretty interesting to see some of the connections. Then you got Biden taking a selfie over here with Gina. And Biden is super, super creepy. He's felt all up on a whole bunch of little kids. And I think it's disgusting. And then you can see the same usual suspects over here. Now, I'm not trying to bash just the Democrats because I hate the Republicans just as much. But look, these are separate times, different times too. Look, oh, this like, she wants to have this picture like, oh, this is a picture that will be in a documentary if she ever gets to be a president. She's like, oh, look at Gina listening thoughtfully and calculatingly to Bill, give her advice, da-da-da. And this is a picture of Gina back when she was in college. Gina Raimondo in college meeting Bill Clinton. So they've known each other for a while here. Oh, and look, where's Ruth Bader Ginsburg? I found her. I found Ruth Bader. She's hanging out with Gina Raimondo. Who knows what the heck they're doing? And then we got good old Michelle Obama campaigning for her as well. We got the same old people here, and like I said, you got found her, Ruth Bader, found her, So let's skip right along, and I'll go into Speaker Matiello. But as you just saw, I demonstrated, I mean, anybody that doesn't believe anything I'm saying, you just go to the Council on Foreign Relations websites, go to members, and you can just type it right in. You can type in Gina Raimondo. You have to click the letters, you go to the R, boom, find it. She's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Educate yourself on what the Council on Foreign Relations is about and what they stand for and what they've done in their history. So briefly to transition into this next individual, he is the Speaker of the House in Rhode Island, who some would argue is the highest position here in Rhode Island, or the most powerful. And he took over this position because the former Speaker of the House, a guy named Gordon Fox, the first time in Rhode Island history, had to resign because the FBI came and raided his offices in the State House, and he was forced to resign. So then we got the Speaker of the House, Nicholas Matiello. Matiello is somebody that has given donations to almost all the Democratic nominees in the House that I've researched thus far. You can find that information. It's all publicly available on Ballotopedia, Project VoteSmart, Legiscan, BillTrack 50, and so forth. And then Follow the Money. There's another great site. But it's all out there. He's donated to almost every single one of these Democratic people, and even some of the people who are on the Reform Caucus against him. So he's even dedicating to his opposition, which is weird. I'm not able to catch all the comments. I'm seeing this comment right here. I'm going to upload this to YouTube. I absolutely will. I'm going to upload the other one too. I'm making a promise. I'm going to do my best to do 2 videos a day to try to get this information out there. But let's delve into Nicholas Matiello real quick. Well, before I do, I'm just going to start with this caveat. So he becomes the Speaker of the House because the old Speaker of the House, Gordon Fox, gets his State House offices raided, first time in Rhode Island history. And so Matiello takes over. And one of the bulletin points over here is he was having lunch with a guy named John Carnavale when the news of the Gordon Fox arrest hit. And Gordon Fox, like I said, was the previous speaker who was taken down. Well, you're probably asking, who the hell is John Carnavale? Well, I'm very glad that you asked that question. John Carnavale is a former state rep and a former police officer here in Rhode Island. He retired early at 45 with a disability. Whether that disability is true or not, I don't know. But then there are several police reports going back years with his ex-wife that he abused her, dragged her, strangled her, did all this terrible stuff. For some reason he was able to keep his job. God only knows why or how. And then he was running for state rep and he had to step out for a sec because WPRI, a local news station here, exposed the fact that he wasn't living in his district. And to me, that's not even the biggest deal. I mean, you should live in the district that you're in, but that's not what happened. But James Carnavale, after that, he, and this is according to police records and reports, he went into a woman's house, threw her on the ground, tried to rape her, was unsuccessful, forced her face up to her while he masturbated, finished, threw $20 at her and said, "Take your kid out to eat," left. The Johnston Police Department here in Rhode Island confirmed that the semen left on her pajamas matched the semen from John Carnavale. A couple weeks later, the woman who was raped died from a pulmonary embolism. She dies a couple weeks later, and then the Attorney General here at the time, Kilmartin, says, "Well, I guess I can't prosecute you, can't go forward with this case because the only witness is dead." Can you imagine if I tried to rape and kill somebody, and then a couple weeks later she's dead, and they're like, "Yeah, Will, don't worry about it. The only witness was dead, so I guess like we're gonna have to do anything here." What the fuck? Are you kidding me? But it gets worse. It gets crazier. Then they can't go any further with the case, and he's like, "Well, you know what? Even though I abuse my wife and lie about where I'm from and probably rape somebody, I'm gonna go and run for office again." And he did. You want to know what's crazier? The House Democrats in his district sponsored him over other people. These are the people that are running Rhode Island. And then before that, one of the Supreme Court heads from, I believe, 74, 75 to 84 was literally a mafia dude. This is real stuff. Go Google any of this. So I'm going to jump into Matiello before I start getting too pissed off about this guy Carnavale. But I'm going to show you this quick file here on Matiello. Matiello is the Speaker of the House here. He supports the red flag law, which basically takes away due process and disarms people. And he sponsored this thing, Christian's Law, that says if you sell drugs to somebody and somebody dies, you can be put away forever. But he wouldn't do that when the CIA gives drugs to the black community. And he wouldn't do that to Big Pharma, when Big Pharma kills more people than drug dealers every day. But he's not going to get the death penalty for them. He's not looking for the death penalty for the CIA. And then once a year, on Martin Luther King Day, that's the day that all these wannabes go to the ghetto, to the black community. One day a year. I've looked through all these people's Twitters, all these people's YouTube, and their official hundreds of pictures on the state reps website. They only go into the hood. They only go into the black community one day a year. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then they sit there and they grandstand like they're, "Oh, let me hug a black person, take a picture of the black person." And then 364 days of them hanging out with stiff white people. They're not in the hood. At once in a while, once a year, they'll go there. And I remember, I am fairly healthy. I'm definitely not really bad, but yeah, I'm healthy. I'm not accident prone. And guess what? I would never commit suicide. And I'm going to go balls to the wall and do everything within my power peacefully to continue to expose this stuff. So like I said, getting back into this, so this is what this goofball looks like, Matiello right here. Doesn't care about the black community except for Martin Luther King Day when he can get his photo op. He wants to kill drug dealers that sell drugs, but not the CIA or Big Pharma that kill anymore. And like I said, when Gordon Fox, the former Speaker of the House, his arrest hit, he was hanging out with John Carnavale, who fucking raped somebody, and the Attorney General didn't do fucking shit about it. And he beat his fucking wife. And he's like, "Oh, guess what? I guess I'll just run for office again." And people let him and financed him again. Oh, and look at this little article right here. Turn to 10. This timeline suggests that Matiello knew of sexual harassment allegations for years. So I'll briefly talk about that. Then I'll go to the pictures. Then I'll rant a little more, and then I'll shut the hell up. But Catherine Kazarian and Teresa Tanzi, couple state reps here in Rhode Island, they have been accusing people of sexual harassment for a very long time. Now, whether that sexual harassment is true or untrue, I don't know, but you have to at least take him credible until you find out if it is or isn't true. This article from Turn to 10 here, you want to look it up. It's the I-Team timeline suggests Matiello knew of sexual harassment allegation for years. He denied knowing about this sexual harassment allegations for years and years and years, but I-Team 10 has the proof that actually no, he did know about this from before. So this is the guy hanging out with rapists, covering up sexual harassment, only going in to the hood once a year on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. This guy's a fucking piece of shit. Hanging out with convicted fucking rapists. He's not a convicted rapist. Because the one person that could testify against him conveniently died right beforehand. And the corrupt fucking attorney general said, hey, guess what? We're just gonna... Looks like you're scot-free. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if I would never do this because I'm all about peace. But can you just imagine if I just went across the street and just savagely murdered somebody, and then the one person that was there, that was a witness, I killed him 2 weeks later, and now they're like, well, you know, now you don't have any witnesses, so it looks like you're scot-free, no ACI for you. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Now, if that won't happen to any poor minority. I mean, I was in court recently the other day. Some guy got locked up. He had to spend the weekend in jail because he had some marijuana. Cannabis on him. He had cannabis. They called it marijuana, which is another racist term again. But he had cannabis on him, and he had to spend the weekend in jail. Yet Gina Raimondo and her husband, they can have weed because they're rich and white. But if you're poor and black and have weed, that's bad. If you're rich and white, you can, in a state rep, you can rape and murder. But if you're poor, you can't rape and murder. What the fuck? This is crazy. I'm sorry. So I'm just going to get to a couple more pictures and try to calm myself down. This is like a late night coffee for me right now, but I always have this righteous indignation, so I'm glad I share with you. So to the left, you have Joseph McNamara, the head of the Democratic Party here in Rhode Island. In the middle, Bill Clinton. On the far right, you have racist Nicholas Matiello, who is somebody that who hangs out with rapists. So great, yeah, that's cool. And getting some pizza. And so I'm not even talking about Bill Clinton hanging out with rapists, but Bill Clinton bit a woman's lip off, and he's had to He had to settle all this stuff. So there's this other photograph again, Matiello. Oh, the Matiello hanging out with psychotic Nancy Pelosi. Oh, welcome to my house. Oh, I love hanging out with rapists. Oh, what the hell? Now he's got some weird pictures here. Now he's got his hands on some little boys. And then look at this picture. This looks like a biting picture right now. Why is his hand so low on that little girl? I'm pretty sure that's not his daughter. This guy's pulling a regular freaking Joe Biden on these little kids here. They're just manhandling these little kids and hanging out with people that have settled rape cases. And oh my God, it's just these are who our leaders are. And like I said earlier, and I'll probably continue to say this, I'm paraphrasing a famous quote right now, but if you don't get into politics, you're going to be led by morons. You're going to be led by these evil people. Because as Martin Luther King famously said, all it takes for evil to triumph is for good men and women to do nothing. So the bad people, the people that like to rape and steal your money and lie to you and hang around with racists, they're going to keep doing stuff unless you do something for yourself. And as I always 100% maintain, you have to be peaceful. You got to be peaceful because that's the only way that you can do something. And we got to expose these people. We got to share these facts. So don't take my word for any of this. Look up those articles I just showed you. I didn't even show you all of them, but I figured I don't want to go too in depth. But hey, I might as well get into some of this stuff to see what I'm getting into. And I'm going to be giving you guys updates twice a day, God willing here. And hopefully you guys will do your part, which is get into this information, share this information, text this information, email this information. I always say, hey, if you hate me and you don't necessarily like the way I convey this particular information, that's great, that's fine. just take the factual documented information that I'm giving to you and then share it yourself. Or don't even say anything, you know? So I'm going to make sure that I upload these videos, but it's also, you guys have to work with me here. And also any information that you guys have on some of these local people and entities would be very helpful. I'm going through all the state reps. I've finished that. And I'm going to make sure that I take a little more time to deal with local and global politics, because you got to think globally and act locally. And like I said, if we take down some of the things that are happening here in Rhode Island, these people, like I just enumerated here with Matiello and Gina Raimondo and their connections to these elite racist societies, maybe we can take those down, okay? So that's the goal here. We got to do something peacefully. We got to get off our butts, because otherwise these people are going to continue to rule over us. And I can't sit here and allow that to happen. I'm not going to sit here and let state reps that rape people lie about where they live. They're hanging out with the Speaker of the House. This is all real. So, anyways, I'm starting to rant now, guys. I'll let you guys go. Please share this video. If you don't like my voice, if you think I'm a loser, just get the factual information in this video and share it to people. That's all I ask of you. Please email Gina Raimondo. Just go to the website and say, hey, what's going on with the missing kids? So if you guys don't do anything, we're going to be stuck there. So please, thank you so much, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Godspeed.